Courtesy of Bevan, VK5BD's ATV channel and YouTube channel, VK1WIA National News, Wireless Weather and Radio Sport is next. Then we're back, live and local news, and your voice, your say, it's radio callback time.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Hey, thanks for rolling up. Not just for the news, but your sleeve. VK4 double B or double jab in the new vernacular. It is the national news. It is October 31 edition of VK's national news broadcast from your Wireless Institute of Australia. And yes, it is the best news you'll get all week. So grab a cup of coffee, and I think this week you'll only need a short one, and we'll get into the news. Now, we're going to start off where we ended off last week, when we made mention how only two groups thought it newsworthy enough to send reports to the WIA News on their JOTA activity. Nick Quigley, OAM, VK4CNQ, has dropped us a most interesting note on JOTA, where the ham ops came from over 5.5 hours drive away to participate and start up JOTA. Now Nick, a fellow Vietnam vet, is heavily involved with Coxcomb Veterans Bush Retreat, a safe harbour open to all serving and ex-military and all emergency services and their families. It's also open to civilian service groups for meetings and conferences in the Rockhampton district. Now, the Chinchilla Scout Group go up to Coxcomb every year for a 10-day camp. This year they visited Keppel Island, went caving, visited Emu Park Memorial Walk and had a great time. VK4CNQ was talking to Leanne Fitzgerald, the District Commissioner for Chinchilla and Surrounds, and heard they were not having JOTA as such because they didn't know any amateurs in the region. So Nick said, I'll come down. Now, Nick's walking and breathing isn't as good as it was in earlier times, but he travelled with Robert Holmes, Coxcomb President, and they set up a JOTA station, including as centrepiece a CW ops position. I think everybody had a go on the key that JOTA weekend and came back next day for more, and so many came by just to thank us for bringing Morse to their JOTA. Now, I'm pretty sure there would have been amateurs in the region, round Warwick, Miles, Goondiwindi, Pittsworth, Millmerran, Roma, Chinchilla and Dalby. And I know dealing with kids is not everybody's forte, but remember, only amateurs make JOTA possible. And that note in from Nick Quigley, OAM, VK4CNQ.
This is VK1WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
On the education front, and here we go again. Ireland's ham exam may get new overseer. In Ireland, the regulator is seeking applicants to oversee the amateur radio exam there. This after regulator Comreg notes the current agreement expires with the Irish Amateur Radio Transmitter Society in December. The Harmonised Amateur Radio Certificate, or HAREC, is to be set, organised and corrected by whoever enters into the new agreement with the regulator afterward. The Ham Society, IRTS, has been administrating the 60-question HAREC exams on paper. There has been no option to take the exams online. A report on the Southgate Amateur Radio News website noted, however, that the Radio Society of Great Britain has been using a Dublin-based provider for its own online exams. So let's see what happens in Ireland. It is the WIA National News, and remember your 3 Ws. Wash your hands, wear your mask, and watch your distance.
Now, international news with Jason, Victor Kilo 2, Lima Alpha Whiskey.
Hello, commencing international news from Region 1. On October 24th last Sunday, just after this WIA National News went to bed, a new executive committee was elected on the final day of the IARU Region 1 Conference and Workshop. The new IARU Region 1 Executive Committee includes President Sylvain Azarian, Foxtrot 4 Golf Kilo Romeo, Vice President Hani Rad, Oscar Delta 5 Tango Echo, and Secretary Matt Selspling, Sierra Mike 6 Echo Alpha November. News on AM radio. A recent British government publication states that AM radio reaches around 3% of listeners, responsible for a considerable part of the electricity bill of the UK radio industry, which is calculated to consume around 115 gigawatt hours a year of energy at an estimated £16 million per annum on electricity for transmission. That is the electrical energy equivalent to that being used by 30,000 households, and this represents around 0.03% of UK energy use. Of this, around 3/4 of the energy is used for analogue radio broadcasts and 1/4 for digital radio broadcasts. Most of the radio stations provided as analogue broadcasts are duplicated on DAB transmission networks, which also carry many digital-only services. The Department for Culture, Media and Sport report states that only FM is to be retained until 2030. It recommends that the UK's 3 national medium wave networks be closed in the mid-2020s, though the final decision is to be left to the individual broadcasters. New museum to recognise Warsaw radio station that was the second biggest in the world. In memory of what was once the second tallest radio transmission station in the world, scientists are looking to set up a museum to commemorate its history. Built after Poland regained independence at the end of the First World War, by 1923 half of Europe was sending telegrams to the USA via the Transatlantic Radio Telegraphic Broadcasting Centre in Warsaw. Consisting of 10 massive 126-metre tall towers, over 430 feet, the radio station's transmitter was powerful enough to reach both North and South America. The Warsaw station was also one of the best equipped in the world, with 2 machine transmitters of 200 kilowatts each, being powered by a 500 kilowatt diesel powered generator, ensuring 24-hour communications with the US. When World War II broke out following Hitler's invasion of Poland, German troops captured the station, allowing the Nazis to communicate with their U-boat fleets and with Japan. At the end of the war, they destroyed it, the detonation of which broke windows of houses over 16 kilometres away. In news from Region 2, how your phone, laptop or watch can be tracked by their Bluetooth transmissions. Over the past few years, mobile devices have become increasingly chatty over the Bluetooth low-energy BLE protocol, and this turns out to be somewhat of a significant privacy risk. 7 boffins at University of California, San Diego tested the BLE implementations on several popular phones, PCs and gadgets, and they found they can be tracked through their physical signalling characteristics, albeit with intermittent success. That means the devices may emit a unique fingerprint, meaning it's possible to look out for those fingerprints in multiple locations to figure out where those devices have been and when. This could be used to track people. You'll have to use your imagination to determine what would or could hopefully exploit this. That said, at least 2 members of the team believe it's worth product makers addressing this privacy weakness. The academics described their findings in a paper called Evaluating Physical Layer BLE Location Tracking Attacks on Mobile Devices, which is scheduled to be presented at the IEEE Symposium on Security and Privacy in 2022. What's up? The US Federal Communication Commission has given approval to wireless charging technology from a San Jose, California company. Energis Corporation sought approval for its 900 MHz 1-watt active energy harvesting transmitter that enables wireless transfer of power. The US regulatory agency's OK follows similar approval granted in Europe this past May. The transmitter, known as Watt Up, is able to charge several devices at the same time and is seen as key to the growth of devices reliant on the Internet of Things. The company heralded the move on its website, praising Watt Up as, quote, the world's first and only regulatory approved wireless charging technology that supports near and far field wireless power transfer. And wrapping up international news from Region 3, Radio Ham restores emergency comms system. The Hindu reports radio amateur Shibu George has rejuvenated a radio communication system for disaster management. The Hindu newspaper says a radio wireless network system, which was installed more than a decade ago in 2009 in all district headquarters in the state, but abandoned later due to poor range and lack of proper maintenance, has been rejuvenated to effectively coordinate rescue operations even in adverse weather conditions. Shibu George, an employee of DEOC, District Emergency Operations Centre in Trissa, who is doing his research in disaster management, redeveloped the system with necessary upgrading which can make disaster management faster and effective during calamities. Now, all 7 taluks in Trissa district are connected to the collectorate through the radio system. The radio wireless system will even function even when the mobile network and even satellite phone connection develop snags in adverse weather conditions. The system was effectively used in the district to coordinate relief operations during the floods last week, said Mr. George. Shibu George, who's doing his PhD research in modern applications in disaster management based in Kerala floods 2018, happened to stumble upon the novel idea quite accidentally. He noticed the abandoned dust-covered repeater lying somewhere in the Trissa Collectorate control room. Mr. George, who is a ham radio licence holder, sought the help of CS Sarat Chandran, radio officer, and the duo, with permission of the then Trissa District Collector S. Shanavas, made the repeater functional. For WIA National News, in Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2LAW.
This is the home service of the Wireless Institute of Australia through VK1WIA. Now operational news with Felix, VK4FUQ.
Hello there. This contest is happening now. CQ Worldwide is the largest amateur radio competition in the world. Over 35,000 participants take to the airwaves on SSB during the last weekend of October, and CW later in November, with the goal of making as many contacts with as many different DXCC entities and CQ zones as possible. This year's Mammoth contest is held this weekend of the 30th and 31st of October. Spring VHF UHF Field Days November 27-28. CQ Worldwide CW contest November 27-28. December 4 and 5 160 metres worldwide. December 11-12 10 metres worldwide. 2022. January, the entire month every year, is the WIA Ross Hull VHF UHF Marathon Contest. 0000 hours UTC 1 January to 23:59 hours UTC 31st January. WIA VHF UHF Field Days. Summer 2022. 0100 hours UTC Saturday 15 January through 00:59 hours UTC Sunday 16 January. Jefferson BK6. John Moore Memorial Field Day. March 2022. Harrow Angel Memorial 80-metre Sprint, Saturday 7th of May 2022. 10 hours UTC to 11:46 UTC. VK Shires Contest 11 June 2022. WIA VHF UHF Field Days Winter 2022. 0200 hours UTC Saturday 25 June through 0159 UTC Sunday 26 June. Jefferson BK6. WIA Trans-Tasman Low Bend Contest 16 July 2022. The Trans-Tasman Contest, held on the third weekend in July, aims to encourage low band activity between VK and ZL. WIARD or Remembrance Day Contest, weekend closest to the 15th of August each year. 2022, it's Saturday, Sunday, August 13 and 14. DX window. North from Alaska. VY0ERC from the Eureka weather station is operated by the Eureka Amateur Radio Club, probably the most northerly located amateur radio club in the world. From Eureka, Nunavut. Eureka is a small research base on Ellesmere Island in the Canadian territory of Nunavut. It is the third northernmost permanent research community in the world. Eureka has the lowest average annual temperature and the lowest amount of precipitation of any weather station in Canada. To give you an idea of just how far north, it's about the same distance north of Anchorage in Alaska as the Panama Canal is south. Work this one and you have achieved something special. The VY0ERC team, V1RUS and V3KTB, is active from the polar environment atmospheric until November 22nd and plans to be in today's CQ Worldwide DXSSB and also the ARRL sweepstakes contests. Outside of the contests, the suggested bands are 40 and 20 metres, as well as FM satellites. QSL via M0OXO, OQRS or direct. VK20 Home. Don't forget that the WA special event call sign VK20 Home is still available for members' use until December 31st, 2021. Check the WIA website and special event pages to book your time slot for use. VI50SG is QRV until December's end, commemorating 50 years of the St George Amateur Radio Society in New South Wales. QSL via the Bureau. I mentioned Panama at the start of this report. Well, here's a group from that region. Special event stations 3F200AT, 3E200P and 3F200NG are QRV until November 30, celebrating Panama's bicentennial anniversary of independence from Spain. QSL route is via club logs OQRS or Relay TW. For VK1WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FU Winningham.
Across Australia from VK1WIA, you're tuned to the WIA National News Service. In Adelaide, South Australia, it can be heard on 476 kHz lower sideband at 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings. I'm Steph, VK5FQ.
Graham popping in again with Media Watch, advertising for a national radio additional service licence. Ofcom in the UK is inviting applications for a national radio additional service licence. Now, additional services use the spare capacity within signals carrying sound broadcasting services on certain frequencies. The current licence, held by Inrix UK Limited, uses spare capacity from the frequencies used to broadcast classic FM, and they use it to transmit traffic and road travel information to in-car navigation devices. This licence is due to expire on the 28th of February 2022.
This is the home service of the Wireless Institute of Australia through VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Cole, VK3GTV.
Hello, and just ahead of special interest group news, a look at wireless weather. Volcanic Comet 29P erupts again. Volcanic Comet 29P Schwarzmann-Wachmann erupted again last weekend, suddenly brightening tenfold and puffing a shell of vaporized cryomagna into space. The new shell is expanding into an older one produced by a super eruption only 1 month ago. Amateur astronomers are encouraged to monitor this unique object as it changes every night. Full story is at spaceweather.com. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, ATV. Every pixel tells a story. tinyurl.com/WIA-news-videos. That link is a video version of this news compiled by VK5BD Bevan. You can also find the link on the news page at wia.org.au or just search YouTube for VK5BD. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, CW. The Straight Key Century Club has enrolled its 25,000th member, the Florida Island Hoppers, W4USI. The Florida Island Hoppers were granted SKCC number 25,000. SKCC was founded in 2006 to promote and preserve the art of manual keying. The idea caught on quickly, and membership has continued to grow to include members in Europe, Oceania and Asia, as well as the US. SKCC members can earn various awards and participate in sprints using manual devices such as straight keys, bugs and sideswipers. The club also supports new and returning CW operators, and its overarching philosophy is to always be considerate of the other operator's speed and skill and to adjust sending accordingly. Membership of the SKCC is free and open to operators of all skill levels. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Digital. The WSJT development team has announced the general availability release of WSJT-X version 2.5.1. This release mainly contains improvements and defect repairs related to Q65 and JT65 modes when used with non-standard and compound calls. Also included is a new feature for microwave aircraft scatter and repairs for defects detected since the 2.5.0 release. Just type WSJT-X into your favourite search engine. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Final Frontier, or is it Final? Failed Russian satellite crashes back to Earth over the United States and Canada. The spacecraft didn't make it into orbit and went out in a blaze of glory instead. A fireball that blazed a slow trail across the skies above Michigan and other nearby states and provinces Tuesday night wasn't a meteor, but instead a spacecraft making an unexpected homecoming. Dozens of photos, videos and eyewitness reports came pouring into the American Meteor Society from the Great Lakes region and as far south as Tennessee. Astronomer Jonathan McDowell, a leading observer of satellites and other orbital spacecraft, was quick to note on Twitter that the sightings corresponded very closely to the exact predicted time Cosmos 2551 passed over the region. Cosmos 2551 was a Russian reconnaissance satellite that launched on September 9th, but didn't make it into orbit. Videos captured from across the region show a fireball working its way across the evening sky for nearly a minute. This, in one hint that the fiery object likely was not natural, as meteors are typically much smaller and can move faster, allowing them to burn up quick. A bulky satellite, on the other hand, can take longer to disintegrate and meets more resistance as it re-enters the atmosphere, leading to a more prolonged burn. Although the images appear to show the artificial satellite edging ever closer to the ground as it makes a run for the horizon, McDowell clarified that it was actually being observed at an altitude of about 64 kilometres. The fireball isn't the only one to have been seen this week. The Orionids reached a peak Thursday morning, and fireballs from that meteor shower may continue to light up the skies throughout the weekend. Worldwide Special Interest Group's IOTA. Miguel, EA1BP will be active as FM/EA1BP from Martinique. IOTA reference NA107 from the 27th of October to the 5th of November, including an entry in the CQWW-DX SSB contest as Tango Oscar 7 Oscar. QSL via his home call. The logs will be uploaded to Logbook of the World and Club Log. Tony, EA5RM, and a large multinational team will be active as HD8R from San Cristobal, Galapagos Islands, SA004, from the 26th of October to the 7th of November. They'll operate CW, SSB and FT8 on the 6 through to 160 metre bands, plus RTTY on 20 metres, with at least 4 stations on air simultaneously. QSL via EA5RM. Worldwide Special Interest Group's Radio Amateur Oldtimers. And you all know who's joining us now.
Hello everyone, this is Clive, VK6CSW, reminding you that tomorrow is the first Monday of the month, time for the Radio Amateurs Old Timers Club of Australia's November Bulletin to go to air. Following the club news, we have 2 articles for you. The first one is about Michael Faraday, the scientist who gave us units of capacitance, plus many other things, read by Ian VK3JS. The second is another trip down memory lane, remembering Windows 1.0, read by Bruce VK3UV. Everyone, RAOTC members and non-members alike, is most welcome to listen to the programme and to join the callbacks afterwards. Full details of all transmission times and modes can be found on the RAOTC website at www.raotc.org.au or just Google RAOTC broadcasts. If none of the transmission times suit you, you can download the audio file at any time from today from the website. If you listen this way, brief feedback would be appreciated. Members and friends of the RAOTC in Perth are reminded that the next lunchtime meeting is at the Bayswater Hotel on Tuesday, November the 9th. All are welcome. Once again, tune in tomorrow for the November RAOTC Bulletin. Enjoy the programme and please join in the callbacks afterwards. 7-3 from Clive, VK6CSW.
Thanks, Clive. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Rescue Radio. NBN Co is calling on Australians to put safety measures in place this disaster season, to follow some simple tips to help maintain communications during emergency and disaster events. It's backing this up with a rollout of emergency equipment Australia-wide, ready for emergencies across the country this summer. Critical Comms say this season's recovery efforts will be boosted by the addition of 58 new pieces of temporary infrastructure, including multi-technology trailers, network on wheels, wireless mast trailers and hybrid power cubes, which will be stationed in different locations across the country for potential deployment if needed. For WIA National News, I'm Col, VK3GTV.
This is VK1WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
Well, I told you'd only need a small cup of coffee to get through this week's news. So, cups down, pencils up. Here's what's happening on the social scene right across Australia. One item. That's right, there's only one thing left of note here in VK for the ham radio community, and that's at Rosebud, and it happens in about 14 days' time. November 14, it's Rosebud Radio Fest by Spark, 9:30am. So now until next we meet, I'm Graham, VK4BB. On behalf of the team, walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.
Greetings, listeners and friends of the RAOTC. This is VK3OTN, the station of the Radio Amateurs Old-Timers Club of Australia, saying welcome to this broadcast for November 2021. I am Bruce, VK3UVN.
I am Ian, VK3JS, here to help present this program.
And together we hope you'll enjoy this bulletin of news and information. This broadcast is relayed on a number of frequencies on the first Monday of the month, except for January. The transmissions emanate from many different sources, and the actual times and frequencies may be found on our website www.raotc.org.au. Now I'd like to thank all of our volunteers who have helped with the relaying of this broadcast. Club news. Now we have two new members, and they are Jeff Hunt, VK5AC, previous call signs VK5JZH, VK0JZH and VK5JH, and he became the full RAOTC member number 1825 on the 30th of September 2021. And also we have Russell Kelly, VK3NT, previous call sign VK3BAG, and he became new RAOTC Life member number 1826 on the 13th of October 2021. And we welcome Jeff and Russell and hope that you'll enjoy your time with RAOTC. Now, we have been advised of a silent key, and it is Henry Curl Blythe, RAOTC member number 1654, and he became a silent key on the 30th of September at the age of 99. We pause for a few moments in memory of our departed colleague. Thank you. This is VK3OTN, the station of the Radio Amateurs Old-Timers Club of Australia. Now here are some articles. And the first one is from Ian, and he's going to present a short article for you.
Well, hello viewers. I'm Ian, VK3JS, and this month I want to say to you, who would you say is the father of modern electricity? Well, you might come up with a variety of answers, but the article that I'd like to bring you now says that this honour belongs to Michael Faraday. Michael Faraday was born on the 22nd of September 1791 and died on the 25th of August 1867 at the age of 75 years. He was an English scientist who contributed to the study of electromagnetism and electrochemistry. His main discoveries include the principles underlying electromagnetic induction, diamagnetism, and electrolysis. He created the first transformer and the first electric generator, and he was partly responsible for coining the many familiar words including electrode, cathode, and ion, or eon if you prefer that particular version of pronunciation. Although Faraday received little formal education, he was one of the most influential scientists in history. It was by his research on the magnetic field around a conductor carrying a direct current that Faraday established the basis for the concept of electromagnetic fields in physics. He also established that magnetism could affect rays of light, and that there was an underlying relationship between the two phenomena. He similarly discovered the principles of electromagnetic induction and diamagnetism, and the laws of electrolysis. His inventions of electromagnetic rotary devices formed the foundation of the electric motor, and it was largely due to his efforts that electricity became practical for use in technology. As a chemist, Faraday discovered benzene, investigated the clathrate hydrate of chlorine, invented an early form of Bunsen burner and the system of oxidation numbers, and popularized terminology such as anode and cathode. Faraday ultimately became the first and foremost Fullerian Professor of Chemistry at the Royal Institution, a lifetime position. He was an excellent experimentalist who conveyed his ideas in clear and simple language. His mathematical abilities, however, did not extend as far as trigonometry and were limited to the simplest algebra. James Clerk Maxwell, another very important name in the early development of modern physics, took the work of Faraday and others and summarized it in a set of equations which are accepted as the basis of all modern theories of electromagnetic phenomena. On Faraday's uses of lines of force, Maxwell wrote that they show Faraday, quote, to have been in reality a mathematician of a very high order, one from whom the mathematicians of the future may derive valuable and fertile methods, end of quote. The SI unit of capacitance is named in his honour. How fortunate for civilization that Beethoven, Michelangelo, Galileo and Faraday were not required by law to attend schools, where their total personalities would have been operated upon to make them learn acceptable ways of participating as members of the group. Michael Faraday was born on the 22nd of September 1791. in Newington Butts, which is now part of the London Borough of Southwark, but was then a suburban part of Surrey. His family was not well off. His father, James, was a member of the Glassite sect of Christianity. James Faraday moved his wife and 2 children to London during the winter of 1790 from Outhgill in Westmoreland, where he had been an apprentice to the village blacksmith. Michael was born in the autumn of that year. The young Michael Faraday, who was the third of 4 children, having only the most basic school education, had to educate himself. At the age of 14, he became an apprentice to George Rebow, a local bookbinder and bookseller in Blandford Street. During his 7-year apprenticeship, Faraday read many books, including Isaac Watts' The Improvement of the Mind, and he enthusiastically implemented the principles and suggestions contained therein. He also developed an interest in science, especially in electricity. Faraday was particularly inspired by the book Conversations on Chemistry by Jane Marcet. In 1812, at the age of 20 and at the end of his apprenticeship, Michael Faraday attended lectures by the eminent English chemist Humphrey Davy of the Royal Institution and the Royal Society, and John Tatum, founder of the City Philosophical Society. Many of the tickets for these lectures were given to Faraday by William Dance, who was one of the founders of the Royal Philharmonic Society. Faraday subsequently sent Davy a 300-page book based on notes that he had taken during these lectures. Davy's reply was immediate, kind, and favourable. In 1813, when Davy damaged his eyesight in an accident with nitrogen trichloride, he decided to employ Faraday as an assistant. Coincidentally, one of the Royal Institution's assistants, John Payne, was sacked, and Sir Humphrey Davy had been asked to find a replacement. Thus, he appointed Faraday as chemical assistant at the Royal Institution on the 1st of March 1813. Very soon, Davy entrusted Faraday with the preparation of nitrogen trichloride samples, and they both were injured in an explosion of this very sensitive substance. Faraday married Sarah Barnard on the 12th of June 1821. They met through their families at the Sandemanian Church, and he confessed his faith to the Sandemanian congregation the month after they were married. They had no children. Faraday was a devout Christian. His Sandemanian denomination was an offshoot of the Church of Scotland. Well after his marriage, he served as deacon and for 2 terms as an elder in the meeting house of his youth. His church was located at Paul's Alley in the Barbican. This meeting house relocated in 1862 to Barnsbury Grove, Islington. This North London location was where Faraday served the final 2 years of his second term as elder prior to his resignation from that post. Biographers have noted that, quote, a strong sense of the unity of God and nature pervaded Faraday's life and work, end of quote. In June 1832, the University of Oxford granted Faraday an honorary doctorate of civil law degree. During his lifetime, he was offered a knighthood in recognition for his services to science, which he turned down on religious grounds, believing that it was against the word of the Bible to accumulate riches and pursue worldly reward, and stating that he preferred to remain plain Mr. Faraday to the end. Elected a member of the Royal Society in 1824, he twice refused to become president. He became the first Fullerian Professor of Chemistry at the institution in 1833. The year before, he was elected a foreign honorary member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He was also elected a foreign member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences in 1838 and was one of 8 foreign members elected to the French Academy in 1844. 5 years later, he was elected as associated member of the Royal Institute of the Netherlands, which 2 years later became the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences, and he was subsequently made a foreign member. Faraday suffered a nervous breakdown in 1839, getting the centuries mixed up, suffered a nervous breakdown in 1839, but eventually returned to his investigations into electromagnetism in 1848. As a result of representations by the Prince Consort, he was awarded a Grace and Favour house in Hampton Court in Middlesex, free of all expenses and upkeep. This was the Master Mason's house, later called Faraday House, and now number 37 Hampton Court Road. In 1858, Faraday retired to live there. Having provided a number of various service projects for the British government, when asked by that government to advise on the production of chemical weapons for use in the Crimean War, he refused to participate, citing ethical reasons. Faraday died at his house at Hampton Court on the 25th of August 1867 at the age of 75 years. He had some years before turned down an offer of burial in Westminster Abbey upon his death, but he has a memorial plaque there near Isaac Newton's tomb. He was interred in the Dissenters, that is the non-Anglican section of Highgate Cemetery. So there you are, a very important man in the early development of electricity. Not a highly educated man, but it just shows one doesn't have to be highly educated in order to make great advances for the benefit of mankind. That's all for this article. Hope you enjoy the rest of the broadcast. See you again soon.
This is VK3OTN, the station of the Radio Amateurs Old-Timers Club of Australia. As most of you have computers of some description, here is another computer historical item. It is entitled 35 Years of Microsoft Windows, Remembering Windows 1.0. Microsoft released Windows 1.0 on the 20th of November 1985, starting as an environment that ran on top of MS-DOS. Windows became the most popular desktop operating system in the world. Let's travel back in time and have a look at what the original Windows 1.1 was like. In the early 80s, the tech press regarded mouse-based graphical user interfaces, GUIs, and multitasking as the hot new thing. It was similar to the current craze over augmented reality and neural networks. At that time, the entire industry was aware of Xerox's work on the Alto computer at PARC in the 1970s. A commercial version of that technology, the Xerox Star, had shipped in 1981. As personal computers improved in CPU speed and memory capability, it became possible for lower-cost machines to run GUIs, which dramatically improved user-friendliness. In 1983, Apple released its $10,000 mouse-based Apple Lisa computer. Meanwhile, less expensive IBM PC-based GUIs, like the Visa On, started to appear. The general trend towards GUIs in the industry prompted Microsoft to start working on an experimental precursor to Windows as early as 1981. However, the project formally launched a few years later, in 1983, and Windows was announced to the press. It took 2 more years and a new project manager, Tandy Trower, before a shippable product was created. Windows 1.01 launched in 1985, but when it finally shipped, it made few waves in the industry. However, that first version laid the foundation for the future of Microsoft. To use Windows 1.0 back in the day, you purchased a boxed copy of the software. Then you either installed it to a hard disk inside your PC or ran it from 2 floppy disks. Windows 1.1 wasn't a standalone operating system. Rather, it was a graphical application environment that ran on top of MS-DOS. Windows 1.0 supported CGA, Hercules, or EGA graphics. You could also use a number of mice that were on the market at the time, including Microsoft's. A mouse wasn't required though. Just as you can today, you can control Windows entirely with keyboard commands. After booting, if you wanted to launch Windows, you just type Win at the MS-DOS prompt. Windows 1.01 was the first public release version of Windows. Compared to the versions that followed, Windows 1.01 represented a fairly primitive graphical environment. It included a simple program launcher and file manager called MS-DOS Executive. This was a bare-bones list of the file names, with nary an icon to be seen. If you clicked an exe file or in MS-DOS Executive, the program would open as an application window. You could maximize or minimize it using the zoom or icon functions, respectively. When minimized, an application was represented by an icon on a simple taskbar that stretched across the bottom of the screen. At any time, you could double-click an icon in the taskbar to open that window again. Windows 1.0 also included several basic applications, including Calendar, Clock, Clipboard, Card File, Terminal, Notepad, Write and Paint. Notepad was suitably Spartan in function, and Paint only supported monochrome graphics. The software also ran MS-DOS programs within a window, but few single-task DOS applications behaved properly in this new multitask environment. Unlike later versions of Windows and the Mac operating system, Windows 1.0 didn't support overlapping windows. Instead, windows could only be tiled side by side on screen, and their contents would automatically resize to fit the available space. According to many Windows history websites, Microsoft made this decision to avoid similarities with Mac OS. However, according to Trower, it might have just been the preference of an earlier project manager, and there was no time to change it before shipping. While it's primitive by today's standards, Windows 1.0 was still an impressive start, considering the low-powered PCs that could run it at the time. It laid the groundwork for future expansion on the concept. Additionally, some of its innovations informed successful new Windows features later on, including the taskbar introduced on Windows 95. Windows 1.0 shipped with the first ever commercially published Windows game, Reversi. This strategy board game was programmed by Chris Peters at Microsoft just as an experimental exercise. However, it was later included in the Windows 1.0 release as part of a set of built-in applications. Reversi is based on Othello. It has 4 levels. Unfortunately, it's also brutally difficult. It didn't gain as many fans as later Windows gaming staples like Solitaire and Minesweeper. Nevertheless, Reversi did ship with Windows up to version 3.0 in 1990. Very few commercial games ever saw release for Windows 1.0. In fact, the only one we know of is Balance of Power, the geopolitical strategy game created by legendary designer Chris Crawford. This might make Balance of Power the official second Windows game, if you don't count the internal ones developed at Microsoft like Puzzle and Chess. Over the next few years, developers released several shareware games for Windows, but you can count the total number on two hands. It's possible Windows didn't see another retail game release until 1991, Battle Chess for Windows 3.0. Windows 1.0 received a lukewarm response from the press when it launched. Having first been announced in 1983, most considered it 2 years late. Plus, other windowing systems for PCs and the Macintosh OS surpassed it in style and capabilities. In 1985, PC mice were also expensive accessories. Given the lack of applications available for Windows, there was also no killer app to drive adoption at that point. Even Microsoft's Word and Excel programs wouldn't ship with Windows for another year. Costs would have to come down and baseline PC system capabilities would have to rise before that could happen. Still, Windows 10 was a big step into a huge new product line, even if Microsoft didn't realise it at the time. Since then, we've seen at least a dozen major versions of Windows, from Windows 2.0 to Windows 10. And that's not even counting the offshoots, like the Windows XP, Tablet Edition, and the Windows Phone. Windows is still big business for Microsoft. It all started 35 years ago with Windows 1.1. Believe it or not, Microsoft continued to support the Windows 1.0 Standard Edition until December 31st, 2001, a full 16 years after its release, making it the longest supported version of Windows to date. This is VK3OTN, the station of the Radio Amateurs Old-Timers Club of Australia. Now we come to the end of our session, and here is this month's joke. And it comes to us from Volker Pluger, VK2VP. Thanks, Volker. An elderly farmer in Queensland had owned a large property for several years. He had a dam in one of the lower paddocks, where he had planted mango and avocado trees. The dam had been set up for swimming when it was built, and he also had some picnic tables placed there in the shade of the fruit trees. One evening, the old farmer decided to go down to the dam to look it over, as he hadn't been there for a while. He grabbed a 10-litre bucket to bring back some fruit. As he neared the dam, he heard voices shouting and laughing. As he came closer, he saw it was 4 young women skinny dipping in his dam. He made the women aware of his presence, and they all moved to the deep end. One of the women shouted to him, "We're not coming out until you leave." The old man frowned and said, "I didn't come down here to watch you ladies swim naked or make you to get out of the dam naked." Holding up the bucket, he said, "I'm just here to feed the crocodile." Thank you for listening. Ian and I hope you found something of interest. Next month we will present another article of computer historical interest. So until then, and all being well, we shall be back with you on Monday, the 6th of December 2021. This is VK3OTN, the station of the Radio Amateurs Old-Timers Club of Australia, saying 73, and listening now for any check-ins and callbacks for those relay stations that have an operator available. Thank you.